Hello everyone, welcome to episode 14 of Brookshore. Today's going to be a good one, so grab your snacks, grab your popcorn. We're starting the downtown. And we're going to make a start on the old historic downtown. Before we set off, we're going to purchase our tile. And we're going to be laying down our roads. We're going to put down our original roads. And as always, we'll kind of use a bit of the terrain, a bit of the landscaping to determine where we're going to be going with these roads. So you kind of imagine they probably would have landed around this sort of area. Well, before all this, it probably would have been the first place they landed in reality. And we'll have a road that goes over to this side of the island and then one over to this side. But with that bear in mind, we're going to basically put down our roads straight through this gap here. We'll use the clearing in the trees just to create a little bit of interest. We'll curve that around like so, and then we'll head for the little gap between there. And that will allow us connecting to Coleridge's main infrastructure. Yeah, that's okay with me. That looks a little bit too straight if I'm being honest. I think we'll, I'll tell you what we'll do, is we'll come down, we'll have a nice curve in here. We'll come down there and we'll hook up into this existing one over here. Let's do that. And that can head down to the coast. And that gives us a bit more of a realistic layout. Now, if we look at our terrain where we're going to be building today, we're going to start the historic downtown with our old market station, which is a brilliant asset in my opinion. I think it will fit us this era very, very well. It'll probably be one of the best buildings in the town so far. You'd imagine they've been pretty happy to have that arrive in the city. So I'm just gonna smooth this little bit of land over here. I won't be doing too much of pinching the land and things like that because I like to work with the terrain. But for just to get us started off, I think it just makes sense just to make it a little bit easier. And we can tidy it up as we go. We'll have a road that runs down like so, and then this can hook in into there. Now the reason I've placed it down here is if we clear these trees, it should make a little bit more sense. Once we drop into the building and have a quick look through this archway, we get a nice frame for our mountain in the background. Alright, I'm pleased with that. And then if we just go back to our terrain, we can always tidy this up. Because we're going to be building quite a bit today. But this asset to me is fantastic. I love this one. Got a nice brick building. It fits the theme of all of our other brick buildings in the background. And you've got this lovely roof. You'd imagine, even though it does look modern, you'd imagine this kind of fits in quite well with the era. But anyway, so that's the first one down. There is quite a few assets to go. Now to make the most of this sight line, I think we'll carry on this road all the way down there. We'll place the buildings in, okay, and this is going to be slightly different to what I usually do. Rather than kind of building the layout of the roads where things are going to go, to a certain extent, we're going to place the assets down and we're going to build the roads around. We've got our main ones in, these would have been here first. But a lot of it is going to be building the road layout around the buildings just to create a little bit more interest rather than having it really gridded or, you know, kind of pre-planning. This one's just going to kind of develop a little bit more naturally. I might as well press play, keep the simulation going. We've got quite a bit of money in now, so we've got a lot to play with here. We're going to put a lot of infrastructure down today. So start with our terrain lines. I think in reality we're only going to be using two. Okay, for the moment we're going to have one that goes into this side of the town and then one that kind of goes into Coleridge. So we're just going to use the two for the time being. That may be subject to change. We'll see how the city develops. But for the moment, two will be enough. I say two, I mean, sorry, 2 lines. Okay, so that hooks them in. We'll deal with the lines last. And then I'm just going to wrap a road around the building itself. I'm just going to run that road up there. Actually, I can turn these lines off. As I say, it's not too bad in terms of terrain. And I'm going to leave a nice little gap just outside the station, about 2 units. Now, what that allowed me to do here is, it turns out the Victorians were pretty good at digging tunnels. So we're going to have our first metro station plopped in, and that still allows for this view, and it uses that space. So it's kind of a bit of like a transport hub. It would have been a major transport hub, and I'm going to upgrade these, and this is going to be like a main collector, and that'll head down somewhere, I'd imagine, in that area down there. So I'll run, for the moment, run that down there. We'll just build it up as we go. We can always change these. Now, if you have been to London, you may have seen a building outside St Pancras International Station, and I believe it's a hotel. So we're going to use the City Hall, which is this asset here, and this is going to be kind of like my interpretation of that hotel building. So you'd imagine if you got your train from, I don't know, maybe even outside of Brookshore in a distant city, you'd arrive there off the train, go into the train foyer. If you come out and you see this grand building, your hotel right in front of you, if I can get a nice view of it. Alright, so I just had to put a cut in the video, but what I've done is I've just hooked in with our power lines to bring us some electric over here, and I've also hooked in with our water. We're now up and running. You might notice that we've got a little bit of landscaping around the hotel, just fenced it off really, nothing any special about it. It's not a park, it's just a little bit of landscape and a little bit of greenery. So obviously in the 20th century we've had some quite significant events that have changed the course of history. We've got the First and Second World War. I'm thinking Brookshore's probably between 1910 and 1930 now. Now there's enough war going on in the world at the moment, and I don't want to bring it onto my channel, so we're not going to be building anything like that in Brookshore. We're going to kind of obviously skip over that era, but this is just the time frame that will be. So I'm kind of basing this build off of London and inspiration from British cities, but obviously I'm from London, so I kind of know it well, and I can visualise things a little bit easier and try and make comparisons. But this is going to be a very touristy area, so we'd imagine this would probably be like Piccadilly Circus, somewhere like that. And of course up here we'll have, well, this is going to be quite an affluent area, so we'll have some nice big houses that kind of ring the outer edge here. We'll have some townhouses in the row, and in here we'll have perhaps like we'll have a monument, or actually, do you know what I like to use? I think I'm going to use one that'll fit in quite nice. Is I believe it's the Oppression Office. Yeah, I like this one. I'm a big fan of this one actually. But what I would like to do is I'd like to put it on its own road. So I think we'll come off about here, and then we'll try and go as close as possible. We'll go snap to the angle. We'll go right to the edge there, and that'll also allow for a little bit of decorations along the front here as well. So we'll just use our kind of vanilla surface paint area, and we'll just fill it in with a bit of concrete. And let's place that Oppression Office just on the edge of this road. It's set back a little bit, gives it a bit more significance. I think I might move it over just one. Now this is where it starts becoming a little bit awkward with the soil that I pushed over. So I am going to pinch a little bit more. We're just going to flatten that out ever so slightly, and then we can just feather that back. And then these ones that are a little bit stubborn here, we can use the self-leveling paths. We'll have a connection. It might make sense actually to hook that in there. That way we can build, as I mentioned earlier, we can start building our roads around our buildings. And this space here, we'll just put another self-leveling path down. There's a little bit of tear in there, but if we don't look at that, we won't see it. So a quick look. So if we come out the station, we've got greeted by this beautiful building straight away. Yep, I'm happy with that. And where we put these self-leveling paths in, I love the way that the buildings conform to the landscape. That looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to be getting we need to get some population over here. That is a big part of our next milestone, as we've got quite a lot to cover. And I'm going to be using the vanilla ones, the European vanilla. Now I'm going to be honest, it's probably the last time that I might use these, plopping them especially. We're going to be looking at more modern era buildings now, but I think it's the old town. They're going to look nice. They'll tie in well. I think actually I'm going to use high density. So yeah, it might be the last time that we kind of use these buildings, because we're sort of moving on in the times. But we'll get a nice row in there, and I'll do the same on this side. It's all nice and even. So we've got a nice row of shops, and then any spare bit of land, all I'm doing is I'm just filling them out with some pathways. We'll do the same here as well, just create extra connections in. You'd imagine there'd be a connection there. It will have 3 there. We'll have the same on this side. Drop one of them either side. We've got a little bit of commercial, bit of a high street. It's not too repetitive, but again, I also do like the fact that all the doors and the windows and these lines, they all match up. And then we've got a little bit of a differential building here. Got a nice little high street, important high street. And then in these extra bits here, we'll just flesh that out with some more buildings. Probably put a 3 in there. This is all commercial. Actually, what I think I might do, I might plop down a service over here. We'll go for our small little police station and fire station. I think they'll be okay with the noise level as well with these buildings. Or should I say not residential, but they're commercial, they'll be okay with the noise levels. So we'll go for those. We'll put a pathway in. We'll do the same here. And all I'm doing, I'm just extending the asset really. Just hooking into the pathway up to the station. But yeah, this all adds a little bit more realism. And I'm going to do the same this side. Alright, so we're all hooked in. Got plenty of walkability. Lots of side streets, alleyways. You do get a lot of alleyways in London, sort of from medieval times and things like that. So that incorporates that in. I'm pleased by that, especially with our services there. I've managed to squeeze them in without them. They don't look too bad there. They kind of fit. They kind of fit in either side of this iron bridge. So, okay. Next asset we're going to be looking at is the theatre asset. So for the next part, we're going to drag our roadway network out into there. And the next building we're going to have on this corner is the wonderful theatre. And this is and again, it's a fantastic asset. Look at the architecture on that. Now I've left just a little one tile. That's all it is. All you need just to run a nice pathway around. Again, it just creates a little bit more visual interest and it flattens down the ground. And I love the little lanterns that it leaves on there as well. Just these small little touches like that. And again, I'm going to wrap a road round. You'd imagine they'd have to have some kind of access at the back for the props and things and people to get in. Anyway, I'm going to try my best to sort of try and slow down a little bit this episode and just sort of take it in as we go. Now we've got this little awkward space, and if we put a build into it, we're going to have to probably terraform it. But what I'm thinking is when you've got awkward spaces like this, sometimes it's just nice to perhaps, put a little bit of leisure, a park in there, or create your own park. And I think we should do that here. You'd imagine there would be, as it's a tourist area, you could come straight out of the station and there would be like a park to greet you, maybe some market things like that. So yeah, let's go for it. Let's put our self-leveling pathways in. We create like a little sort of junction like that. And then what I'm thinking is on the corner we could have a few of the park life assets. We'll have a nice fountain right on the edge here. Put that as close as I can. So that's right on the walkway. I know it does block the views of that a little bit, but I'm okay. We'll turn these traffic lights off as well. See, it does throw up a few problems to deal with, but it'll be alright. We can put down, yeah, maybe we'll have 2 parks there. Actually, turn that around. And not only will it make it look nice, it'll kind of hide that nasty tearing of the nasty landscapes. And that looks quite realistic with the embankment or just sort of like the supporting wall. I'm alright with that. Okay. Now on this side we'd have like some food stalls. You imagine people would have come out of the theatre or out of work in their lunch break and they'd want to get a bite to eat. So let's drop in a few. I'm trying to find it. I think it's in props. Yeah, these ones here. Let's have a couple of these. These are nice. We'll just line this pathway with a few of these. I know they're all yakisoba noodles, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. And then on this corner behind them, let's go for some of the buildings. Maybe we'll have a park info booth. Perhaps you get your tickets here for the theatre or souvenirs. And again, also I'm just checking to make sure it doesn't. Yeah, so that's blocked a little bit off. So let's move that over. Let's just not ruin. Let's not ruin the look of the theatre from the station. That's the most important part. Maybe we put another set of market stalls. So I can mix them up. We've got a few here. We've got the market stalls. Make sure I've got that right way. We'll have a couple of them. Then we'll have a couple of burger van. We'll have a final one on there. And these are like, imagine these are little steps. Now we can always put some flowers. Of course, we can always make it a bit colourful. It's important to add a pop of colour to the town. Alright, so we've got a little market square over there, and then on this side, let's have a look what other props we can put in there. Perhaps a chessboard. If we do put the chessboard in, it will take that out, unfortunately. So we'll go for some toilets. We'll go for like a mini park cafe. So we'll have a couple of them back to back. And why don't we go for our Old Faithfuls? Let's go for the little pavilions. Not too over the top, it's just a friendly neighbourhood park. Well, actually, that's an asset, isn't it? It's just a, you know, just a little bit of green space in the city, which is very, very vital. And I think that'll be enough. I'm happy with that. Just to say, don't want to cut the views off of that. And that needs some water as well, so we'll give it some water. Now, next building we're going to be using is the government building. Now, I'm just mirroring what we've got going here. And that building is this one. We'll have that right on the edge. Just plop that down. Again, this is another really, really nice building. I like this one. It's got a nice courtyard out front. The architecture's, mate, I really, you know, I don't know, there's something about these assets. They just really do give you a sense of time. And they definitely fit in our old downtown for sure. I'm actually, before I put that pathway in, I'm just going to wrap a road all the way around, and that's actually turned out all right. They've lined up pretty well. I think I probably could mirror what we've got going on. So let's just drag them over, and I'll leave a tile either side. We've got a theme going on here, just these lights and these walk pathways. All right, so I've been between episodes. I've been thinking of like what palettes of buildings and configurations that we can use, just to make it fit the theme. And I've come up with a plan for a grid of, it can be residential and it can be commercial as well. I've come up with a grid for 330, and I'm going to place down these corner assets. So it's 280 by 320. There we go. It never works when you're on camera once you've got the record pressed, but it just gives these little blocks. But yeah, it just fits in with the theme really. We should be able to see that pretty well. Yeah, this architecture all ties in together, and I should make sure that we've still got our landscape, our view. So that's good. Now, with any old city, you'll always have a church. So I think it'd be important to get a church down. So let's pop that up against the road. It gives us a little bit of death care as well, and of course it just adds that. Probably would have been one of the first buildings in this part of the part of Brookshore. You'd imagine this would. I'd imagine this would probably have all grown at similar sort of times, but of course, as I did mention, we just didn't have access to this tile or population, so we've had to build this after. But this was probably all kind of built together at the same sort of time. Anyway, let's carry on building. I'm just going to move that pathway and just match it up a bit better. We can actually go all the way, make most of all these squares, tiles, fill it up. And then I'm going to use the young linden tree actually down the middle too. I think it looks the best. I think I might have mentioned it in the last one actually, but it just feels very like a modern tree. Does anyone else feel that? Like it looks like a modern architecture tree? Anyway, right, okay, that's fine. We're all upgraded. Now, as the church is the building that's probably been here the longest, you'd imagine, we'll use that as a chance to build our. We'll build a next collector right next to it. So we've got these running parallel, and then we will just do a subtle curve just into the main national road. And why I think of it as well, why don't we get these roads upgraded, get people about the city a little bit easier, not the one way. We need the, where is the two-way? I think these have changed since they've upgraded the new base game. So I think that's the right one. Let's get these upgraded. Alright, we're starting to get somewhere. Hopefully you can see the personality starting to shine through. So I'm imagining this section here probably be perhaps like a shopping district. So why don't we get, what is this one called? This is the department store. Let's get this guy in. It's quite a big asset and it's going to overlook. You should still be able to see it with a bit of luck. Well, if you actually were sitting in the park, you can still see it. Yeah, that's nice. You know, like the old shopping centre, the original mall. Again, it's just these subtle touches, like these nice little windows at the top, all tidy architecture in. It looks pretty Art Deco as well, which is something we can actually. That's on another building. I believe we've got another building like that. We've got these ones. I think that's on the same. More advertising. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the task at hand. So I'd imagine the next episode we're going to be changing the building style up, but I'll mention that at the end of the video. Now, there's something I want to mention is like when you find awkward spaces and you don't always know what to build in there, it's fine. What you can do is what I'm basically. This is my excuse anyway. No, what it is basically, if you've got a space like this and you don't know what to build there yet, it's fine. You can always just fence it off and pretend it's kind of like a construction site, and then once you get an idea on what you want to do, you can always go back to it. But this obviously happens in reality. Things get boarded off and new buildings arise. So perhaps in the future, when this all becomes a little bit more high density and modern, can take the fence down and we can populate this area. But it just gives you an idea, you know, just another way of incorporating other assets in. You don't always have to fill the space that's there. Now I'm going to put those houses I just mentioned a minute ago down here. Actually, we'll split them up. We'll have two either side. I say houses, they're actually going to be commercial, but I do get my words mixed up sometimes. Yeah, we'll have that, and then we'll have in the middle. We'll just run a little alleyway through the centre. Let's have a look how that looks on the ground. Yeah, like a little alleyway. That's good. And then it's just, for me, it's just a matter of what it looks like on the corner here. It looks, for me, you're going to see this view more often, and that in the city looks better. So we've got some more of that down, and I think that's probably the majority of commercial place now. I believe we probably should start getting some Sims. We've got the demand for it. Yeah, I'll change my mind. I think we'll connect into there. I just deleted that road out of there. I think that might make a bit more sense. And I'm just looking at what buildings we can use to fill that remaining gap now, because at the end of the day, oh, there we go, Grand City. So we've got a waste transfer facility. We're not really on any of this just at the moment. We will probably get a bus terminal in. I think I plan to use buses in the downtown. So if you're a fan of the buses in Cities Skylines, fear not, they will be coming. Now my main concern is whatever building I put in here is going to be showing the back of from this main road. So if we go too close, for example, if I put one on this corner, I think we would then be blocking that view. Do you know what? I can put up with that. I think I'm happy with that. Let's go to the edge actually. So how deep are we with our zone in here? I might actually take this road out, put a normal road in. That way, that gives access to those parking area. So it's just about filling this again. So we've got 3 rows deep. We could probably go with a couple of these. I think I might have put in the wrong level. What are these? Level 2? There might be a little bit. Might not be able to get away with that. The services might not all be there for the area. We'll see. But from the ground, because it's got that advertisement or whatever that is on the back of the building, I'm alright. I think that's okay. That ties in. Perhaps these buildings were built as part of the mall. That ties in. I think we can get away with that. Let's carry on our road infrastructure. Somewhere like that. It doesn't have to stay like that. We'll then wrap another road around the back of our mall. And And I'm thinking we'll have some kind of park leisure area here. So if we look at, let's go for a carousel park on the corner. We haven't used one of them yet. Last time we used that was back in Coleridge, but for this era, there's a lot of, you see the carousels in this era. So let's live up to that. So we'll put one of them in. I'm thinking a statue might go quite nice. Let's just bring that road down. We'll have a look at our statues. Probably like the statue of shopping. Yeah, let's put that on the corner there. Of course, this is all going to add to the benefits of the leisure in the area, especially when we put down our actual housing, our high density housing into there. What do we get left with? We've got a few spare tiles to use. I think these are going to be too big. Just trying to find something that's going to fit. It's too big. Maybe we go... Yeah, perhaps we'll go for toilets and an info booth. Yeah, and then we can put down... We'll put some concrete down, and then that should hopefully just tie that together. Yeah, you'd imagine. So you've done a bit of shopping, come out of the mall. Perhaps you've watched a film or cinema and you fancy taking a bite to eat. You can sit on the bench and admire the statue of shopping. What is that? Is that meant to be a set of cards or an iPhone? I'm not sure what that's meant to be. Other phones available, of course. This is going to be our carousel. Yeah, it's quite a fun area. Looks quite a fun area like that. So we've got we're coming together. We're coming together. Let's have a trip over to this side and start establishing some of our housing. To carry on the theme of having this quite boxy, I think. I'm just going to break the power just there because it's going to be in the way. Maybe if you were staying in this hotel, you'd look out. Of course, you've got this spectacular view, but I think maybe we'll have like perhaps some park or some greenland with some trees. Small park, does that fit? It fits if I do it that way. Yeah, we'll go for that. So I've placed down these townhouses. This is obviously an affluent area, as I mentioned, but to me they just look... They kind of gives off the vibes like a Chelsea or Kensington vibes. You know, you see those houses with the multi-storey, lots of levels, floors and houses, and have the white at the bottom and the brickwork above it. You usually have, they have them in America as well. You know, you have the doors and they'd have the steps, but these ones obviously on the street level. But you'd imagine they'd be kind of like that. And I quite like the way this beam just sort of steps down as it goes along. It's obviously completely by chance that that's happened, so we'll take that, and then we'll do the right houses back to back, so that way there's no, they butt up to each other. They butt up to each other. That's fine, and they look pretty cool from the aerial side of things. But yeah, just like little blocks of these. I'm going to continue doing these all around, just around this area. yeah, this area is feeling really nice now. It's pretty built up. We've got probably quite a lot of population to grow, so a lot of population to move in. Sorry. So yeah, this is feeling quite a nice estate round here. Some pretty goodish streets, but then we've got some, you know, some unusual, just random streets. I put a little curve in just to mix it up, and then we've put a nice little flower bed and park just in the centre, just to fill that space really. Alright, just a few more things to do then. We need to put some more housing down and just finish off the last of our historic buildings around here. So I'd like to have a nice little repeated pattern similar to what we've got on here, but this time we'll do that in residential. We'll do it, I think we'll have, yeah, I'm hoping that they will hold up okay. It's not too noisy in this area, but I think we'll have to unfortunately wait and see. So let's carry on putting these down. We'll do a few more blocks like this. So what are we, 280? Yeah, that should work pretty well. Kind of like Barcelona super blocks, aren't they? But yeah, I like that. That feels nice. That fits the vibe, and they overlook this square as well, which is good. So this all can be named. If you've got any suggestions, as usual, please feel free to drop them below, and then I'm more than happy to use them. Now we'll have a little bit of we do need some education in this part of town, so we'll use this we'll use this road here as, we'll have a nice library here, I think. Yeah, we'll have an education building there, and then next to that we'll use this, which is kind of like dead space. It's hard to build without zoning. Now I've just put a couple in the video here. I was just putting some education building down. I thought I'd put them in this sort of land here just to make the most of this, but it didn't feel right. It just felt like I was cramming them in, and it didn't really do it any justice. So what I think we'll do is we'll have our own little dedicated area behind here for the schools. But first of all, I'm going to create another kind of like housing estate essentially. So we'll use this road just to come down here. Rather than using the ones that we've used, we'll use a different asset. We'll go for the 3x2s. So the ones I want to use are the 3x2 block house. I think we can have some repeated patterns in here. Maybe we'll go for a 2 in the middle. And we'll repeat that either side as well. Yeah, that looks quite cool. It's different. It's certainly different to what we've used before. Well, actually, no, we haven't. We've used these before, haven't we? We've used them up here. So perhaps there was the same developer, but I quite like that configuration. That works quite well in my books. And you've got like little courtyards, alleyways out the back here as well, which adds a little bit more detail. So I'm going to literally do another one of those right next door and repeat that as well. So what is that? That's a 320. Another 320 hook in there. We'll just drop down exactly the same layout. So we've got a little, residential area here. Got the main town, well, the main part of the downtown touristy part here. Of course, we've got our station and probably our main station of Brookshore so far. Bit of a railway town, perhaps it started out with us, and then we've got a hotel and a bit more of an affluent residential area up here too. So this will be our shopping district, and I'm imagining this road somewhat carry on, which is probably down here somewhere. We'll put in another road later on, but the last building that I want to place down for today will be our bank, our stock market. So I think that'll be the last one we'll do today, and then we'll round off the episode with some cinematics. So let's have let's create a bit of interest. Let's have a diagonal in there. That'll head down towards that way. Perhaps that'll follow the coast, And then what I want to do is I want to sort of place this down as like a busy intersection. And we'll go for one of our newer, the stock exchange from one of our newer content DLC packs. So that will head our start of our financial district. Now I've placed down the stock exchange, and I've just moved it as far over, a little bit further over to the historical side, just for the nature of the look of the building. And it does feel a little bit British for my liking and what I wanted to kind of go for, but you know, at the moment that's okay. We can always tailor this as we go along. So as I mentioned earlier, we're probably going to just be taking this in bite-sized chunks, and we might build a little district or an Art Deco, place some of our buildings from the Art Deco pack down here, and then eventually we'll do little builds, and eventually it'll all knit together to form our downtown of Brookshore. And of course, as promised, before we wrap up today's episode, I'm just going to place down some of our schools and our service building assets over here. So let's pop them down. We'll have an elementary, we'll have a high school, and they fit quite well on that side. Got the old school building, the brick building. Yeah, we'll have an. Actually, I think we'll change that. Let's go for this style one. Something a little bit different, and then of course we'll have our playground on the back. Just to round off this episode. So we've reached the end of today's episode. I hope you'll agree we've achieved quite a lot. We've actually managed to grow the city by about 3,000 sims, of course, which is good news. And we've established our historic downtown, which we'll build on as we go through the next few episodes of Brookshore. So if you've liked this one or you're excited for the next one, please feel free to smash that like button, drop a comment down below as well. I'll leave you with some cinematics. Take care. Bye bye.